Suicide rates are rising in West Virginia, and WVU is providing more helpful resources than ever before. I'm Madison Greer, and I'll have those details coming up next.
I'm Megan Scrano, and coming up next on WVU News, I'll tell you how my furry friend here and others in the Hearts of Gold program are helping veterans fight battles of their own.
1 in 25 Americans live with severe mental illness. I'm Sarah Potteracki, and up next, I'll tell you what acute medical care can help those in a crisis. Our Emmy Award-winning WVU News starts now.
1 in 5 people within the United States are diagnosed with a mental illness, and almost half of all adults will experience a mental illness in their lifetime. I'm Victoria Donatelli.
And I'm Jillian Brooks. In our special edition show this week, we'll be looking into how the Mountain State is using its resources to help those who suffer from a mental illness.
We'll also examine inpatient care in West Virginia. Thanks for joining us for our special edition show. A mental health crisis in America starts now.
Only about 47% of adults who have a mental illness in West Virginia receive any type of treatment. While the number of people diagnosed with mental health illnesses continues to increase, the number of inpatient care for people with mental illnesses across America continues to decrease.
That's right, Jillian. Our own Sarah Potteracki joins us now from Studio B to tell us more about inpatient care in West Virginia and why that number is so low. Sarah?
The average delay between onset of mental illness symptoms and treatment is 11 years. Lack of awareness and insurance, as well as heavy stigma, are often barriers between those living with mental illness and the pursuit of proper treatment. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 34 and the fourth leading cause of death among people ages 35 to 54. There are 11.4 million people who experienced serious mental illness in 2018, bringing home the idea that you are not alone.
So often we isolate ourselves and think, oh no, everybody's going to find out that I'm X, Y, or Z. Everybody's going to find out I'm a bad person. Everybody's going to find out I have a mental health disorder. Everybody's going to find out, so I need to shove this down.
Suicide is the 10th overall leading cause of death in the United States, with the national rate increasing by 33% between 1999 and 2017. Inpatient psychiatric care can provide acute, life-saving treatment for those experiencing a crisis.
So going inpatient let me start on new medication, let me reconfigure my therapy schedule, let me go into an outpatient day hospital setting, and really let me press reset on my mental health.
64.1% of Americans with serious mental illness received treatment in 2018. Beth Witter explains the importance of seeking proper care.
The purpose of inpatient psychiatric care is to stabilize a person's symptoms so that they can return to their communities safely and they can return to their daily lives, whether that's working or caring for a family.
Just don't feel shame about getting the resources you need, and don't feel shame about talking about your story.
When it comes to getting help, early intervention is key.
Go to the emergency room right away. If you can't get yourself to the emergency room, and you have no family or friends to drive you to the emergency room, then you can call an ambulance and they will come get you.
The national average suicide rate in 2015 was 13.3%. The rate in West Virginia was 17.5%. If you feel as if you or a loved one are experiencing a crisis, go to an ER or call 911. Financial counselors are available to help you figure out how to pay for inpatient psychiatric care. For local crisis services, visit the link at the bottom of your screen. Back to you at the Waterfront Studio.
Thanks for that report, Sarah. People who don't receive care have an increased chance of committing suicide. Suicide rates are on the rise in the nation, and West Virginia is ranked in the top 10 states with the most suicides per year. Our own Madison Greer reports on why the suicide rates are increasing and what resources are available.
Death by suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the state of West Virginia, and one person dies by suicide every 22 hours. For Claire Sestaro, that one person was her twin brother.
He always had a soccer ball and a pair of cleats. That was his favorite thing to do, and he's so smart. He is one of the smartest guys I know.
Anthony Sestaro passed away in September of 2018.
it didn't seem he had a hard time. He was very happy, and I mean, everyone knew him, and he was everywhere.
One factor of high suicide rates is the stigma surrounding suicide. Many people face attitudinal barriers, meaning they may feel embarrassed to ask for help.
In those situations, crisis hotlines can be used to speak with someone anonymously. Anyone can text WVU to 741-741 to speak with a WVU Carew Center employee, or they can call 1-800-273-TALK.
Dr. John Campo is a professor of behavioral medicine and psychiatry at WVU. He says that for ages 10 to 25, suicide is the second leading cause of death in West Virginia.
Suicide kills more young people than cancer, than cardiovascular diseases, than infections like meningitis, influenza, pneumonia, sepsis, than HIV, than respiratory conditions like cystic fibrosis and asthma, than diabetes combined.
Dr. Campos says that the Carew Center's crisis hotline and counseling sessions are just some of their available resources. To learn more, visit the website at the bottom of your screen. Madison Greer, WVU News, Morgantown.
Researchers have linked social media usage among teenagers and young adults to an increased chance of becoming depressed, anxious, and lonely.
Yes, Victoria. A July 2019 study published in the Journal of Depression and Anxiety reported that teenagers and young adults who check their social media for just an hour a day are almost 3 times more likely to be depressed.
Reporter Madison Greer joins us now in the studio at Social Square with more. Madison?
Thanks, Victoria. Jillian, with 75% of Americans logging into social media accounts every single day, it's no surprise that this new habit is affecting our mental health, especially among young adults. Social media has been shown to be as addictive as nicotine and alcohol, and new research shows that consistently checking your social apps may not be good for your mental health.
Spending a lot of time on social media has shown to have direct effects on mental health, including anxiety, depression, feelings of loneliness, and even suicide. Alexa Forbes is a WVU student who often feels anxious when checking her accounts.
Any sort of like big scary news things like mass shootings or like climate change or anything like that, because I feel like social media just makes it sound worse than it is.
There are over 2 billion people across the world on social media. But 51% of users often feel anxious when they log into social sites. Experts say there's a number of reasons that often leave users with these feelings.
Some people draw a lot of importance on that like counter, and that is causing anxiety because you are constantly worried about, do people like me, which is increasing social anxiety.
But recent studies are showing that how much time that's spent on social media has measurable effects on mental health. Forbes magazine recently reported on 2 new studies that show users that cut back on social media time to just 10 minutes a day felt less lonely and anxious.
You can come to understand that everyone is just posting, their best pictures and that everyone has a bad day. This will allow you to realize that other people are human beings. They aren't always perfect, so therefore it's okay for me to not always be perfect.
Experts say while completely deleting social media is not necessary, limiting your time and reconnecting with family and friends in person is a better way to stay connected.
That was our own Jillian Brooks reporting. Experts say that when people struggle with social media depression, it can greatly affect their quality of life. If you are experiencing the negative effects of being online, researchers say to delete your social media apps off your phone and seek professional help if needed.
Using social media has also been linked to having negative effects on body image. A review of 20 pages published over the past few years examined people scrolling through Instagram. Another scientific study reports that Americans who engage with social media on a daily basis have 2 times the risk of developing eating disorders, such as anorexia and bulimia. The unrealistic images on social media contribute to Americans searching for a way to look like these filtered images on social. The best way to not be affected by these images on your social media feed, you guessed it, delete the apps from your phone.
While there are different ways people can cope with depression, anxiety, and other mental illnesses, there's one way that can help people find their forever best friend: through an emotional support animal. The Hearts of Gold program at West Virginia University trains service dogs for veterans who need assistance in issues ranging from physical to mental health. Megan Scarano reports on how this program is changing the life of one Army veteran.
Meet Sprocket. He is Linda Jewell's service dog. Linda served as a specialist in the Army Guard before suffering a devastating injury to her knee.
I was running with my squad, and next thing I know, I'm on the ground screaming, holding my leg.
Her mobility was gone. She could no longer be a soldier. When she returned home, she was also diagnosed with PTSD.
I had just attempted suicide not even 9 months prior to getting him. I had been going to group sessions and solo sessions from the point of the attempted suicide the very next day until then. And we were talking about how a lot of this had stemmed from my injury and the fact that I couldn't do things anymore.
And Linda is not alone. Over 20% of U.S. veterans are diagnosed with mental health disorders. But the dogs in the Hearts of Gold program are trained to help with disabilities ranging from mental to physical health. Lindsay Parenti is the Director of Program Relations at Hearts of Gold. She says the dogs are well trained for any situation a veteran could be in.
Our dogs are currently trained a base level of approximately 80 commands that they're trained no matter what. And then once they get their official placement, we do some tailored commands that are more specific to their client.
Sometimes the dogs know before they're veteran that something is wrong.
He notices when I'm about to have a panic attack before it even hits me. He'll back me up to a chair or he'll make me sit against a wall. And he won't stop whining at me until I'm literally sitting against a wall.
The Hearts of Gold program trains dogs for all physical and mental limitations, and when they are matched with a veteran, they can meet their specific needs.
He's been a huge relief and godsend, and it's improved everything. And this program is just really amazing because they give so many people back their lives.
Linda is thankful she can lean on Sprocket. Megan Scarano, WVU News, Morgantown.
Wow, that's wonderful that a pet can provide that type of emotional support, Jillian.
Yes, it is, Victoria. Coming up after the break, Glenn Kittle joins us to take a closer look at how difficult it is for student athletes to juggle busy schedules and the toll it has on their mental health.
I'm Glenn Kittle, and coming up, I'll be talking with a sports psychologist about mental health in athletes here at WVU.
When we started our journey, we had no idea where it would lead us. Until we found a place where experiences became a way of life, and connections became unbreakable bonds. For us, it's a second home, and wherever we roam, it will always be a part of us. The place we became mountaineers.
We always talk about the physical demands of being a student athlete, Glenn.
That's right, Victoria. But what about the emotional demands? Glenn Kittle joins us now with more to explain. Glenn?
Thanks, Jillian. Victoria. Studies have shown that athletes are at a higher risk to suffer from anxiety and depression. An NCAA survey found that 30% of athletes reported feeling depressed over the course of a year. Numerous factors play a key role in an athlete's performance on and off the field, and this can cause a lot of pressure to win, with some mental health issues emerging in athletes as young as 12 years old. Nearly all day, every day, Division I athletes work hard to play on the big stage in their respective sports. But sometimes physical strength may not be enough, with mental health concerns rising. Dr. Dana Charbonneau says that student athletes have a higher risk of mental health concerns.
What's interesting is that more research is showing that student athletes compared to their non-athlete peers might actually be more at risk for developing mental health concerns because of things like the unique demands put on them and pressures put on them being part of the sport and sport culture.
Not only are these problems happening at the elite level, but the bar keeps getting younger and younger.
College athletes may not be the only ones at risk. A study showed that kids as young as 13 years old can be developing anxiety and depression, and one sport athletes as well can be developing anxiety and depression at higher rates.
A more recent case at WVU was wide receiver Sam James, who says he visited a sports psychologist to help him with his confidence issues on the football field.
WVU volleyball senior Erin Slindy knows all too well about the mental aspect of playing sports.
The physical toll and the emotional toll that athletes go through on a day-to-day basis. I mean, if you look at an athlete's schedule, you may see there might be an hour lift and there might be 2 hour and 30-minute practice. And that's 3 hours and 30 minutes total out of, a 12-hour day. That doesn't seem that bad, but people don't realize the mental toll that it really takes for that hour lift and that 2 hour and 30-minute practice.
Experts say some ways for athletes to cope with mental illness is to first seek help. They also say to try and use your recreational time usefully and rest often in order to refuel your body.
If you or an athlete you know may be depressed or experiencing a mental illness, visit the link at the bottom of your screen for self-care and outreach tips.
Thanks for that report, Glenn. It's also important for athletes to take care of their bodies on the field. Head injuries are common in sports and can be the cause of mental health issues.
You're right, Jillian. A new study reveals that around 1 in 5 athletes may experience depression or anxiety up to 6 months after a concussion. I found out what steps to take to properly heal a concussion. Many people are questioning the mental health of former Steelers player Antonio Brown following his concussion due to a vicious helmet-to-helmet hit that knocked him out of the game. This has people in the medical community also questioning how severe the long-term effects of a concussion are, especially among athletes. What exactly do local trainers have to say about this issue?
The way that we are caring for them now, which is so different than how they cared for them 15, 20 years ago, that we are hopefully doing something to decrease the amount of long-term effects.
Even though volleyball is not considered a high-contact sport, concussions can still happen very easily.
There's 6 people on the court at once. They're all running around, and I don't know, I never thought of it as a contact sport, but once you're out there playing, I've collided with other teammates a bunch of times.
In fact, for WVU volleyball player Lindsay Proctor, she did experience a concussion and how she's dealing with it.
I was just really lightheaded, didn't really know what was going on, that type of thing. I had a bad headache. There's a big bump on my head.
Some athletes will avoid reporting their concussion-like symptoms to keep playing, but it's important to educate players on why they need to report all concussions, especially for their long-term health.
Here at WVU, we have a program that we use called C3 Logics, and it's a program on a laptop. It's used all over the country by multiple collegiate programs as well as high school programs, and it assesses a lot of things such as memory, balance, cognitive ability.
Concussions can cause temporary loss of brain function, leading to physical and emotional symptoms, such as confusion, vomiting, and headaches. While studies on the long-term effects of concussions continues to progress, the NCAA is doing their research to find out how to help athletes now and in the future. In 2013, more than 4,000 former NFL athletes suffering from dementia, depression, or Alzheimer's had sued the NFL, accusing it of concealing the dangers of concussions and rushing injured players back onto the field. If you suffer a head trauma, experts say your risk of developing certain mental disorders may increase as much as 400%. Well, that's it for this week's special edition show of A Mental Health Crisis in America. I'm Victoria Donatelli.
And I'm Jillian Brooks. You can visit us online on our website, or you can also watch our shows on YouTube. And please follow us and our reporters on Twitter. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.